And it's funny that you say that because AB originally we talked about this obviously quite a while ago. I remember saying to him, "Yo, listen, man, I'm all about this. I'm all about this underground shit because when I was growing up, me and my friends obviously we listened to mainstream rappers, but we also listen to a lot of like underground sort of you know loyal to the soil guys, like just a bunch of guys who were just you would never hear of otherwise. And a lot of them, were like very gangster, very violent, whatever. But they influenced us, right?
Because they're not gonna make they're not gonna make it to your airwaves because of maybe the lifestyle they live, but the story they have to tell is so authentic. You can resonate with it because it's not watered down, and it's like, although like.
The fire hose of truth.
Them now. Trust me, man. Because they don't. Do people really want to hear what it's like to live the life of an immigrant growing up in the hood,
you said, below a poverty line, right?
Below the poverty line. Because why? Because it's like.
What they don't want to know it's like partly because they don't want to know what it's like partly because they don't want to contend with their consumer actions creating this and keeping people down. Right. This is a system, as you know, that is based on taking. Some people want more and they take it from someone who has little. That's what this is. So now what they like to do is they like to focus on the effects, right? The after effects of the conditions. Oh, the violence. Oh, the crime. Oh, the this. Oh, the that. But nobody wants to address the root. When I say nobody, I mean those cats. They don't want to address the root causes of why this is. That's why they don't want the truth. It makes them uncomfortable. And also some of them are just racist. That's the truth, as you know this. Or you know this better than I do.
Of course. It's because it sort of allows them to like live in their own ignorance. Like, oh, it can't be like, like that. And like, maybe it's just human nature. You don't really want to live with guilt either, right? Knowing that this is what's going on in your own city, and you have no idea.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I also the truth is, if people don't go out to the neighborhoods you're in now, which are similar, but of course they're more elevated than they were when I was there. But when I was growing up, they would have I was talking to somebody last night. I was at a concert in LA and somebody brought up some story. So I told them some story of like when I was, 13, and their mouth was like, and I said, oh, yo, that's not even 1% of what it was like. Like not even, it blows their fucking mind, right? It blows their mind what some neighborhoods are like in Toronto, because Toronto is, here's something you can bet. Here's something you can bet. When a country or a city tells you it's so fucking dope and how great it is, bet that there's some shit happening there that everybody's covering up. Right?
100%.
Postcard life doesn't show what's behind the fucking mountains. But what's behind the mountains is the real city, right? And so it's kind of a weird thing. That's why, I'm a Canadian, granted, and I understand that, and I love supporting Canadian sports teams, and I love what Canada offered my mother and my grandmother when they came there, and they got an opportunity in Canada they wouldn't have gotten elsewhere. I understand that, but I'm more of a West Side Toronto guy than anything, because when I travel across Canada, I don't recognize that country. That's not the country I grew up in. Right? I grew up in a certain part, like where you guys are. That's not. Canada ain't like where you're from, right? And Canada ain't like parts of Montreal, and Canada ain't like parts of Winnipeg, and Canada ain't like parts of Surrey. That's not the Canada we get told. So I love Canada in theory, but only as a promise. And to me, a country has to be not something to brag about. It should be a promise you are trying to live up to. And I fucking hate when people go, oh, this country's, I'm like, fuck off. No country's that. If let's make sure that everybody has what you think this country is, then we'll talk about this country. But until then, it's a promise to live up to. And I come from a family who benefited greatly coming to Canada, right? Growing up in a country with healthcare, fucking A. I'm in America now.
Thanks to Tommy Douglas.
Tommy Douglas, you're right. And I'll tell you right now in the U.S., the single dividing thing here is the amount of people who don't have real health care, right? It's like you get sick here, you get cancer here, you go bankrupt. And it's a thing, man. And it's not perfect in Canada. Totally get that. But holy shit, is it better?
It's better,
It's fucking better. Long wait lines? Yeah, but you don't go broke. right? It's not perfect. There's lots of things in dental care and eye care and prescriptions. All that should be, I get all that. It's got to grow. So to me, Canada is a country, is a promise you should be living up to. And then maybe they'll like the stories being told by artists a little more. But right now what they're hearing is truths, and they don't want those truths. They don't want that experience related back to them. Because like you said, they don't want to live in their guilt.
And that's the sad truth, right? Of life.
Yeah.
But I think that all in all, Toronto and just Canada as a whole, I think, like you said, it's not supposed to be some miracle dreamland. It's supposed to be an expectation and sort of living up to that expectation and setting a bar and rising up to that bar, basically rising to the challenge, right?
Yep. And you know this, right? You it's like a great tune, a great track. You have to start with the beat, right? Like you need to start with the beat. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have a foundation for anything, it will never work. And in Canada, all of us have to do our part in creating whatever it is determined is truth and reconciliation for Indigenous peoples. Our country is built on genocide and crimes and lies. And it continues. And when people today go, but I'm like, stop with the buts. Like, stop. If nothing, unless we address the heartbeat of this country, the original sin, it doesn't matter that we didn't do it. You and I weren't part of it. We didn't come here from that. But we have all benefited from a piece of land that was taken in the worst circumstances, broken trees, all that stuff. And missing and murdered Indigenous women, all these men and women, all these young kids and adults buried under churches and schoolyards,
and under schools, yeah.
I mean, a fucking crime of epic proportions. Mm-hmm. If we collect, and I honestly believe this, and I don't care if people are mad at me about it. I honestly believe if that doesn't become the priority, everything we build will be on a house of sand, because some people will get better and some people will get a seat at the table and some things will open and some things will grow, and that's fine. But you walk down the streets and realize what has happened, what the country and the churches did, government and churches together, government more, the Queen. But the Queen hasn't been a part of this for a long time. There have been many governments. So everybody's like, the Queen. Yeah, you're right. But she hasn't been involved in a long time. And it's still going. So that's governments, that's voters, that's churches. And if we don't deal with that, everything is built on fucking bullshit. And so I'm just a huge believer in I really want Canada to be the thing that I thought it was when I was 13. I thought it was a country that could be really cool for everybody. Then you realize, oh shit, no, it really can't. But that doesn't mean that we can't try, right? And I'm not naive, man. Everything's a fucking fight. So let's just go fight.
No, it's like you said. It's not anybody who thinks that this is going to be easy. I think you are severely mistaken.
Yeah.
I think that to know that this country is obviously built on the backs and the struggle of millions of Native people. It's saddening when you think about it, but it's something that you need to hear. And I realize a lot of people, like you said earlier, they run from that sadness. Yeah. They run from the complicity of it, right?
Exactly right. And I just refuse to believe it's impossible to fix. I refuse to believe.
Nothing. You just got to be willing to put the work in.
Yeah. I mean, self-determination. Like, we don't tell them the government shouldn't tell them what they should do. What do you want? Do it. Like, give it to them. Get out of the way. Like, self-determination. Like, this is it. Like, the idea of borders are arbitrary anyway, right? Borders and country definitions. And, my mother, the joke with my mother is, by the time she was 12, she had lived in 3 countries and never had to move. Because the borders kept being redesigned, right? And wars and shit. Borders are fucking arbitrary. So this idea that we're holding on to this idea based on, like, fuck it, blow it up. Let's do something different. Let's do something different because it's for the next generation, right? It's for the next group. What's that line in that show? A society truly works when old men, and it could be true for any gender, but old men plant seeds for trees they know they'll never be around to sit under the shade of. That's when a society really grows, when you're not doing it for you. And I don't mean holding on to more for you and your family, right? I just really believe that that's the thing that Canada can be. I actually think we can be it. I don't know how quite yet, but we're working on it, right? We're doing our parts. That's what I was saying earlier about how this next stage of my career and my business involves a lot of that stuff, because I think you can do it.
And it literally circles back to what you were saying earlier, because you said, yo, listen, this ring that we're in, whether it's any sort of ring of life, because that's what life is, right? This ring doesn't belong to you, and it's up to you as the OG to keep passing it forward, right? And those old men, they are the OGs, because they're sort of passing it forward to you, and you're passing it forward to us, and we're going to pass it forward to the next person. It's a continuous cycle, paying it forward.
You got to do it, and you have to constantly be checking yourself. And I know in the context of what we do with media is that we can't save the world individually. That's not the goal. The idea of like saving the world is an ego thing. It's do your thing. We can do our thing. And in media, we played a really big role, the media, in fucking this up. Right? And we played a really big role. And even though you didn't do it and I didn't do it, but did I do it? I don't know. Where was my bias back in the day? I don't know. I certainly didn't do what they did in the 50s. But we know better, we do better. So how can we make the media be a thing? Well, like the people in the center who are, they make fun of the people on the right because the people on the right make fun of the media all the time. And the people in the middle go, blah, blah, blah. And I just think, the media does suck, right? Like, let's get it straight here.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah,
they do.
For sure. And corporate media is a problem. It's a fucking problem. I'm not saying it shouldn't exist, but it's a problem. And
it needs to be restructured.
Yeah. And so what are we going to do?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, what are we going to do? So
or else there's going to be real change.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're doing it. You two are doing it with this, right? If you go back,
man, listen.
If you go back 20 years, you two guys, who's giving you an opportunity to do a show? Nobody, right?
Oh, nobody.
And you're making that opportunity now. That's why, when I went to MuchMusic, one of the reasons I really liked it was because at City TV, which was started by Moses, basically, when he took it over, that was the first time I saw ethnic people on TV. That's the first time I saw brown guys on TV, guys with Greek last names on TV. That's the first time I saw my city. That I didn't see it watching CBC or CTV. I saw it on CBC.
Trust me.
That's why I got respect for that, man.
That's why MuchMusic to me was like the biggest thing we had. Like, that I feel like it came at also like MuchMusic came at a time where people didn't really understand how groundbreaking it could have been if it was a thing a few years, later on. Yeah. Whereas now, like television just in general, like is so watered down.
Like you said, homogenized, right?
Yeah, it's like outside of like 3 channels now, it's like, do you even really? I can't even watch Comedy Central anymore. It's like it's that bad.
I watch shows but I don't care who puts them up, right? Yeah,
like on streaming platforms.
Yeah, streaming platforms, totally. And and I'll watch, like if NBC puts out a show on Paramount or whatever, I'll watch that show, But I watch Apple TV shows, of course, and I watch all these shows. But the idea of like watching a TV show, also I think because I know how they're made, I know what's going on behind the scenes, So I'm like, no, I'm not learning anything in this. This is not making me better. I'll still watch some bullshit. I love to watch my bullshit shows for sure. But
like what are you into watching right now?
I somehow during the pandemic decided to watch TV shows that I would never watch because I don't like most mainstream things, right? Not now anyway. But I was like, what are all these TV shows that last like 9 seasons? How the fuck do they last 9 seasons? 15 seasons. I'm going to watch that shit. And I watch it in the first season. I'm like, this is no good. But then I'm drawn right in. I'm fucking drawn right in. So I watch everything, man. I watch, not anymore. Now that I did that for the first year and a half of the pandemic, then I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So now I'm watching other stuff. But I was watching shows that I didn't like, that I didn't think I would like. But I watch them like, fuck, man, Supernatural is a great show. Like I watch these shows that I would never watch. I never watched Buffy. right? All my friends watch Buffy.
Which is weird because it feels like that's something that would be in your wheelhouse.
Right, but it was, I just wasn't that thing. And I put on Buffy during the pandemic. Like, yeah, this show's great, man. But I never, because I watched The Wire. I watched The Wire. I watched The Sopranos.
Greatest show of all time.
Of all time, the greatest show of all time, man. And so I just was never into that shit. But then I started watching this fun stuff.
You should watch Snowfall, by the way.
Oh, I watched the first 2 seasons of Snowfall. Yeah, I did. I like that. Yeah,
Snowfall's fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
I got a show I'm trying to get made about Rex. I got a show I'm trying to get made about Rex. About what it was like growing up in Rexdale and tied a little bit into today. And it's kind of a comedy, but it's got a little bit of not so comedy. And it's also
listen. You need some Somali actors. We're the guys.
Oh, it'll be
you want to laugh?
Yeah.
I'm actually doing something. I'll say similar, but like a little bit on the opposite end of like just what it's like to be. I'm doing like a short film. Oh, I'm like sort of in between. Like I kind of have the story written down. I've been doing it for quite a while, but it's obviously it's like it's so much stuff going on. But it's similar to that. It's more like what it's like to be a first generation Somalian.
Yeah. Can I?
Up in Toronto.
Where are you at with that script? Can I read that script?
I wrote the story, so I'm actually gonna sit down with one of my close friends who's a scriptwriter, and once I get the script written down, I'll definitely send it your way.
Strombo, if you're just going to sit here and tell me you're going to make a Toronto version of The Wire,
well, it's not.
I want to act.
It's not so. It's not The Wire in a way, but but no, it's sort of centered around the fact that what's hard to look at. Every neighborhood has this, right? Well, not every neighborhood, but certain neighborhoods like the ones that we come from have this, where you on the same day are laughing and running, right? At the same day, this guy rolls up, you split. This cop rolls up, you scram. This girl comes up, you're cool. This girl comes up, you're out. There's all this shit that happens in a given day. And what's really interesting about, at least my experience, and I'm certain it's true for you now, there is that your daily existence, your fucking emotions and fear
all over the place.
Obviously, I'm a grown ass person now who has no reason to think about this shit. But because in LA it's pretty shifty. And I was with a friend of mine. We were in a 7-Eleven around the corner from here, and everything was fine. And then I saw some stuff gathering out on the parking lot, and I'm in line to get some shit. And I put my arm around her. I'm like, "Let's go." She's like, "No, but we're next in line." Like, let's go. We're going.
So yeah, that's the thing, like
we're out, she's like, what? I said, just let's go. So we leave, we get in the car, and then find out 2 hours later, pop, and it's like she's like, I said, listen, I don't get it right all the time, but I know. I'm like, you know what?
That's your Toronto sixth sense, danger sense going.
I would look at her and I would say Toronto man's, right? Let's go. We're leaving.
That's Toronto man.
Yeah. That sixth sense of like just knowing something's about to go down.
You don't even live in the hood anymore. You still have it. You don't even live in the hood anymore. You still have that.
But the good news is all of LA is the hood now, in a way, because all of LA is pretty interesting, right? Because crime is everywhere, but crime is lower. We all know the real crime is Wall Street. We know the real crime is Wall Street.
Well, of course.
But we know that on any given day, there's a lot of stuff that can happen. It's a compromised place. But yeah, it's true. I don't even live there, and I still have that kind of like that thing that pops out. What is that feeling
Strombo,
in my veins?
You know where? In a couple of years ago, I was in Muskoka.
Yeah,
I was in freaking Muskoka.
Yeah,
there's nobody who looks like me in Muskoka.
No, you might have been the only one ever.
I went over there, and I swear to you, I couldn't stop looking over my shoulder. I swear to you.
Yeah.
It takes a real long time just to get comfortable. Even when you go on vacation, sometimes like
I was in Dubai during the pandemic. I was in Dubai. On everything I love, I'm looking left to right, and I'm like, this is like, it's everything's fine. Tell my sixth sense that.
Yeah, you can't.
I wouldn't turn off.
Yeah, I can't turn it off. I can't turn it off at all. I'm everywhere I am. I'm like, let's go. We're leaving. We're going. And I was just very quiet. Let's go, because I don't want anybody to know that
let's make moves. Let's go.
Yeah, we're out. We're out. It happens all the fucking time to me now. But you know what? I'll tell you something. You only have to be right once to save your life.
100%.
100%.
That's it.
I was driving down the street in the summertime, and I'm like, why is everything? Oh fuck! There's a body there. Oh, there's this there. You're like, oh, I live in a neighborhood where there's a current. If you're walking down the street with a watch, you're going to get, it's problematic, right?
You're getting jacked, yeah.
Yeah, my friend got shot at 6 times. They missed every time for his watch. He was rolled. He had a rollie, but I don't even know which one he had. 6 times the guy missed. And you're just like, I saw him the next day. I'm like, yo, he's like, God. And he's like, God is great. And that's what he said, you know, and I'm like, I don't even believe in it, but whatever, man. I'm glad you're here. So everything is, you got to be on a swivel all the time. It's exhausting. It's how we've normalized violence in our lives. I was saying this to my friend last night after the show, going, I need to find a way to break the cycle of how much I've normalized it, because most of my life isn't around it anymore, but it's still so ingrained in me, and I've normalized it, and I've normalized that kind of trauma. And I know that in the long term, it's not healthy, but it's how I survived. And so it's hard to unwind that part of me. I can't unwind it.
Because it's so funny and unfortunate. It's like it's all that sixth sense are sort of like,
we laugh about it. Like,
yeah, it's because realistically, it's like your mind's telling you, like, I've seen the first 3/4 of this film. I don't want to see the last part, you know? Like, let me just slide out of here in any way I can.
Totally. And then someone's like, oh no, the movie ends differently. Like, don't need to stick around to find out. Don't need, yeah, totally. And I'll tell you this, man, like I said, I'm long removed from that neighborhood and long removed from having to deal with that on the daily. And it's still, granted, I will say, I mean, look, you know, one of my best friends got murdered in my home in LA. So by a break-in. So that happened 5 years ago here. So it's still very close to me, right? It's still very, a guy broke in, killed him. I just went through the trial. It took years to go through the trial.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to hear that too, man.
But thank you. But so my thing is I'm never far from it. I'm never, ever far from it. And LA, part of the reason maybe why I liked LA is so fucking real. And everybody's always like, oh, LA is filled of fake. I'm like, you fake. LA is fucking real. Like, I walk around here and shit can pop in any neighborhood. Shit can pop off at any fucking time. And it's just like, let's go. Honestly, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
Straight. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, and I can't shake it. And I'm glad I can't shake it, because it's maybe partly what keeps me so fucking gnarly is that I still have that in me.
Yeah.
No, Strombo, listen, man. I'm telling you right now, you got us amped off this idea. Listen, if I have to audition, I'll audition. But I'm telling you right now, give me a role.
Let me read this thing. Yeah, listen. When it's done,
you,
so I got a thing. I got a show idea that no network's going to make, right? Because they're not going to tell the story. And if they ever do a story like this, they're never going to do it this way. They're going to do it in an academic way. They're not going to do it in a real way. So
look, Strombo, they're going to do it by withholding the truth.
They'll do it.
I think you're right about that. And they're not going to have as much fun. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a thing where I have this idea for a show centered in Rex. And it's funny, but it's also family and sweet and hardcore and real and truthful. But I don't want to do it with a network. So I'm trying to get cats who have lots of money. And I say to them, fund this. Let's make a real series and just make it for free. Put it on YouTube. And like, there's no fucking, the return will be, if the show's a hit, then a network will give us real money and freedom, a streamer, right?
And it'll happen. It'll happen. It's real. It will happen.
But I also think that no one shows the Rex any love, man. And it's, and it's not, that's why I'm big up on Claremont II. Even he's from Weston. He went to the same high school that my mom went to, Weston Collegiate. And I'm big up on him as a rapper because he's from that side. And I from the West Side. And I want, and Raz Fresco's from Brampton, so I want the West Side to be represented because it's just not the same as Toronto. It's just not the same.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's the real Toronto.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's the real Toronto. But speaking of, music and stuff like that, we were talking about it earlier before the camera rolled. People obviously know like how in tune you are with like rock and like heavy metal and like punk and things like that. People don't know like how educated you are in the rap scene. Like they don't know how like in tune with it you are. Like, so like I want to ask you, like when you were obviously growing up, you were taking in all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like the 90s must have been for you like eye-opening when it comes to rap stuff. Like it must have been like, this is the shit.
It was the best because when I first got into rap when I was young, it was like everybody, it was Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash, it was Run DMC, but really for me, it was Public Enemy.
Nobody talks about Africa Bambaataa. Nobody talks about it.
I did not now. No, definitely not now. I got a photo on my phone.
After what?
Yeah, I got a photo on my phone of me at Bambaataa back in the day, right? But yeah, so all those guys were, of course, because in my neighborhood, I grew up in a neighborhood that was very Jamaican in my part of it. So we were always hearing stuff, great music, right? So reggae and dance hall was around. We all like, of course, Desmond. So I like punk rock, and Desmond Decker and that ska two-tone music was from Jamaica, and so it influenced punk rock. I liked rap a lot when it came out, but I didn't love it until Public Enemy, Boogie Down Productions, and the Beastie Boys. So those three crews kind of set me on a path. And then when the early 90s, the golden era hit, you got Tribe, you got De La, right? You had Souls of Mischief were coming. Del the Funky Homo Sapien was coming. You had wordplay with some thought, right? The Roots came later, of course. So the early 90s was for rock and hip hop. I mean, it really, like, I know young cats fucking hate it because everybody's like, every generation has great shit. But honestly, that fucking era of rock and hip hop and electronic music, the shit coming out of the UK, is the fucking best. And Acid House was coming, and House had started in the 80s, right? So Acid House was coming out of Manchester. So all these genres were popping when I was 18. You know, it was fucking glorious. So, I mean, I remember being on stage with KRS-One. I remember walking backstage, walking through the alley off the bus, walking backstage onto the stage with Wu-Tang, and just being around these fucking legends, right?
Did you watch their miniseries, by the way?
Not yet. I want to watch it. I've been waiting for it. Is it great?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me show you a jacket. I got to get a jacket for you. Hold on 1 second.
Let me go see it.
It's my favorite drink. 1 second.
Let me see it. I can't wait to see the drip. Holy. Yo, that's hard.
It's my Raekwon Inshallah jacket. I love this jacket. I wear this jacket and people are just like, whoa, what is that? It's the hottest jacket in the city. It's crazy.
This guy's got Inshallah written on the front. You killed me.
I love it. It's for Raekwon, man.
Hey, that's hard, man. No, check out the miniseries. It's dope.
I will, for sure. Well, yeah. I love him so much. I love Wu-Tang and Public Enemy were kind of, I mean, it was just crazy. It's just crazy.
You strike me as like an Ice Cube, like Notorious B.I.G. kind of guy.
Yeah, I was big into NWA, big into Ice Cube's first 3 solo records, like really into it. I love Biggie. Now listen, Biggie is the greatest of his time for sure, but I will say this. I was a Pac guy because Tupac was on some other fucking spiritual, philosophical gangster shit that I was more into. Where Biggie was sort of telling me about what his life was like, Pac was telling us about what it could be like. And Pac was pointing fingers in a way that Biggie didn't, right? And now, of course, you listen to those Biggie records, Biggie is like, you put Biggie on, it's like listening to Led Zeppelin. You're like, everybody, even if someone's not into hip hop, like my mom has never heard.
They'll like it because of Biggie.
My mom has probably never heard of Notorious B.I.G., but if I play Hypnotize, my mom will get it. She'll get it, right? Biggie's Biggie, no doubt. But at that time, Ice Cube, Tupac, Chuck D. I'm really into the political shit, obviously. So that's a big influence in my life. Now I almost exclusively listen to Death Grips. Death Grips are like that's the hard. Death Grips, Immortal Technique. I really like because it's kind of on message. I like some of the conspiracy shit. I'm not in here for, but I love this. I love angry flow. I don't like laid back shit. I want like that, you know.
Like a DMX kind of guy, huh?
I like DMX. Yeah, rest in peace for sure. Yeah, I mean, listen, when DMX and Busta popped on the scene, no one had ever heard anything like that. Nobody.
Two of my favorite rappers, Dude, like those are two actually my favorite rappers.
And if you look around,
Busta Rhymes,
who I love Busta. Who sounds like them now? Nobody can do that.
Nobody
can do that because Busta and DMX were so fucking great, and the energy of Busta was off the chain. Like nobody could do that. But nobody did. Now I like. There's an artist out of LA called Bus Driver that I really like. He's been around for a minute, but I like his stuff. I like Anderson .Paak a lot, but Death Grips are what I'm really like. I listen to Death Grips a lot. That's just fucking insane shit.
Though you brought up Immortal Technique, I remember I had heard one song from Immortal Technique when I was a teenager. I think it was that one where he's sort of like telling a story about this kid who was like a gangbanger. I forget how it goes, but like it was like very dark. Like basically like it ends with him doing like a very horrendous act to a woman, and the woman turned out to be like his mother or something. I don't know if you know which song I'm talking about.
Just,
but
he was trying to let everybody know the consequence of their actions. Right?
Oh, it's terrifying at a young age. Terrifying.
Totally. I love that shit. But I'm at that age now where that's going to resonate with me. You know, I've gotten to a point in my life where when I was younger, I could rationalize some of the shit I was listening to. But the older I got, I'm like, I just can't fuck with those lyrics anymore. I can't fuck with those lyrics. I just know better. I can't. And I would never tell young cats how they got to be. But I just know it doesn't. I mean, no, that's not true. Sometimes I will. But a little bit. But I won't. I just want to hear shit now that's ferocious. And this is what I want out of all music, all genres. I want ferocious music. I want my punk and metal to be ferocious. I want my rap to be ferocious. I want the EDM to be ferocious. I don't, if I want to listen to chill vibes, I put on fucking a Grateful Dead. I'll put on De La Soul if I want to chill, right? I
love De La Soul.
Oh my God, man. Maceo came to my house. Maceo came to my house.
No way.
Maceo came to my house. Mixmaster Mike did a DJ sit in my house. Grandmaster Flash came to my house in Toronto. We come to do interviews.
Legend.
But yeah, De La Soul were De La and Tribe. Like if you push back, like Tribe Called Quest were huge. Deltron 3030. I loved Del the Funky Homo Sapien and Dan the Automator. Like I love those producers. But yeah, I mean, I still listen to genre all the time.
And you're big on the Beastie Boys as well, right?
Yeah, because I was like 12 when the Beastie Boys hit. It was I was prime for the Beastie Boys. You know, like it was like they were making records for me. I just did a whole special on the Beastie Boys because of the anniversary of Check Your Head. And the thing with the Beastie Boys too was they started off being pretty crass, and then they grew into some pretty powerful men who led the charge in fighting for human rights and for Tibetans. Like they turned into some pretty interesting men, great artists. And so, yeah,
and that's the thing. You'd be shocked like how people discover these things. Like right now, I was telling you, like when it came to like Beastie Boys, I only heard of them. The first time I'd ever like known about them, I seen them on Futurama.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Really, that's awesome.
That's the first time I ever heard of them, and I remember they did. They were like obviously rapping or whatever, but like I was like, yo, these guys are kind of hard. Then like you know, and I remember not too long. I remember I watched them on TV right after like the thing went on commercial break, because obviously for our listeners, commercial breaks used to be a thing. You know, it would go on commercial break, and there was a commercial for like a car or whatever, and it had their song, the stick 'em, stick 'em, like, and I was like, this sounds like these same guys.
Yeah. And
obviously, I do the Google search or whatever, and I'm like, yo, these guys are so hard. I had to like, do my research on them, but yo, those guys are legends.
Listen, man, hip hop's the one genre that doesn't really care about the previous generation. And the statistics back that up. Like whereas it's the one genre where it's the newest, the youngest right now, and they don't spend as much as a whole as much time looking at the previous generation. That's a fact, statistically speaking, and that's fine because why not? It doesn't have to, right? There's no rules. You can do whatever you want, right? But when people disrespect the Beastie Boys, I give absolutely no credit to their opinions on music whatsoever. Like I honestly, I will. If someone doesn't get the Beastie Boys, that's fine. But if they can't hear it and know how that changed everything, I disrespect their opinion, because the Beastie Boys had the most interesting beats. And this is what Chuck D from Public Enemy said. Chuck D said, hip hop's dirtiest secret was that the Beastie Boys had the best beats. That's what Chuck D said.
I've heard a lot of their stuff. They're pretty fly. A lot of their stuff. Yeah,
it's crazy shit. And what they did as a sampling record early on, like, I love them. They're not the be all end all. There's lots of great artists. I think Biggie became the thing, but Snoop, of course, is Snoop. I mean, and Dre's the greatest hip hop producer of all time. But
absolutely.
But the Beastie Boys, man, I mean, it's a whole fucking thing. And they had like 3 different careers in their career. That Paul's Boutique record, nobody could make that record today.
I'm sorry, though. Eminem's washing them, though. I'm sorry.
Eminem,
as a rapper, Eminem's washing them. Eminem, I think, as a rapper, I think he's better than them. As a rapper, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, as a rapper, Eminem's better than anybody ever. Eminem will eat every single person alive.
And we live in a time where, and AB can attest this, we live in a time right now, people love to discredit Eminem.
No, Eminem's not.
Yeah.
You might not like his style or the stories he's trying to tell, but as a rapper, come on, man.
As a rapper,
Eminem,
him, Jadakiss, guys, like nobody's touching those guys.
Eminem
really talks about them either, right?
A lot of guys.
Yeah, Eminem will kill everybody. Like that's that's what 50 Cent says all the time. 50 Cent says, take your favorite rapper, take them, put them in a room, and Eminem will eat them. Like as a rapper, as an MC, as a straight MC, nobody. The only guy that blew up big was 50. Like 50, when 50 hit the scene, it was crazy. But 50 can't rap like Eminem. It's just 50. You know, maybe Rakim.
50 hit the street harder, like you said. He just hit the street harder.
When he dropped down from that bar, that upside down thing, that first video, I was at MuchMusic at the time. Doom, doom.
Go.
Every day, honestly, we were at MuchMusic and it hadn't even aired yet. The video hadn't even aired. Like the record company would come in with a cardboard box filled with these tapes, VTR tapes. So we put them on this little TV, right? So this is like no one had seen the video. He comes in, yo, check this out. A couple of us gather around this little monitor. Press play. Boom, 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 boom. You could feel the air leave the room. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, this is the heaviest thing I've ever heard in my life!" Like, holy fuck! And then go, shorty, it's your birthday, and then everybody went. Well, this is the biggest star in the world right now. Like, no one even knows it yet. Yeah, no one even, because it hadn't even played, but we all knew. Fuck, this is going to be everything. But even he will tell you, fucking Eminem
will rinse anybody.
Anybody. The only Chuck D said the only rapper who can change the temperature of the room when you give him a mic is KRS-One, because KRS-One speaks truth. He speaks truths, but there isn't a single rapper alive today who can do what Eminem did. I don't stand by most of Eminem's lyrics. I don't give a shit about most of that shit. It doesn't work for me. But
just saying, as an MC, as a rapper,
not even fucking close. Eminem battling Busta would have been the only thing that I would have been really like, wow. You know,
Busta would have got him with the wordplay, maybe.
But that's it. Yeah, like no, Eminem's the best. As a straight up MC, he would kill that. But Beastie Boys, by the way, would never even. No one would even like. They wouldn't put themselves in that category. You know, Beastie Boys were a whole package. They were a culture. But no, Eminem is a whole other thing, man.
No, and then that's obviously, you know, just look at that. Like the fact that right now you walked us through so much. Like, do you know how many people don't know about KRS-One? Like, so many people don't know about, like, Airbnb and Rakim. People don't know about De La Soul. Like, that just proves, like,
EPMD. Like, there's some shit going on, man, that people need to. I just think I think you're better when you know your history, and the genre's history is epic. You know,
are you this knowledgeable with R&B too?
Not as much. You know, I like old school R&B. I don't listen to like that Ashanti era of R&B that came out when I was at MuchMusic. That wasn't for me. You know, I like Jodeci. I love Jodeci. You know,
love Jodeci.
You know, I remember doing
Boyz II Men, New Edition.
Yeah, I love all that shit. But to me, here's the thing. My Pony is the greatest of that kind of vibe, right? That 2000s R&B. We're trying to figure out what are the three great. Yeah. That when you hear it now, you're like, oh my god. The other one is an R. Kelly tune, but we're not allowed to do that anymore. You know, we can't do R. Kelly, and I get it. You know, I get it. I'm like, you know what? That's a great song, but fuck him. So I'm happy to put
guys a punk. He's a punk,
so put it away. I don't care. And then we're trying to figure out, you know, where No Diggity sits. We're trying to figure out where Regulate sits. You know, because that's a rap tune, but it's kind of an R&B tune. And but so the modern
Regulate's a great song.
Oh yeah, and the modern R&B, I don't really spend a lot. I'm not huge into heavy production, and I fucking hate auto tune. If I hear auto tune, I'm out.
R&B, just like
I know
rap,
it's good, but I hate it.
and just like all other genres, I feel like, I think maybe you might be able to agree, maybe you won't, but I feel like all rap, R&B, everything sort of like has a very heavy pop influence now. Like, it's never gonna really pop if it doesn't have like that pop appeal.
Now.
Yeah, it's and I think you hit on something, AB. I don't really love pop music. I like some of it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But in any genre, if it's rap or R&B or rock that most people associate with, or punk or whatever, if it's too pop, it's not my thing. I'm not saying it's bad. It just doesn't land for me. I like a little bit of a different edge. Like I love Mary J. Blige, right? I love Mary J. Blige.
She's incredible. She's incredible.
Yeah, I love Mary J. Blige.
That's the hood man you talking though. I'm sorry. That's the hood man you talking.
I got to interview me and Mary in a hotel in New York, and in a hotel where she had gotten, I think she was dating another famous singer at the time or earlier, and she'd smacked him in that hotel. And we returned to the scene of the smack and did an interview. Like, I'm not a huge Mariah fan, but of course, Mariah's the best, right?
Amazing.
I love some of those songs. Mariah's amazing. So when I was at the time, I wasn't a big Mariah guy, but now I listen like fucking right Mariah. Whitney.
I gotta say this, man. I think Brandy.
Yes.
Is like the best.
Fucking right.
I don't know. That's my personal favorite.
Yeah, Brandy's incredible, man. Lil' Kim was incredible. Like, there's some
incredible
fucking legends. Yeah, for sure. No, I like
Alicia Keys.
Yeah, Alicia Keys. I saw Alicia Keys play.
Alicia Keys is a legend.
Oh, absolutely. So I do like it, but I don't seek it out because it's a little bit too middle of the road for me now. And but that's okay. It just isn't. But if I hear a good one, I know it's a good one. You know, for sure. If I hear a good one, I know it's a good one. But in this era of my life, I'm either listening to bands like Idols or Sleaford Mods, or I'm listening to Fred again. You know, like dance producers. I love. You know, there's a Richie Hott and a techno producer, so I like that kind of music too. That's what people really don't know, how much I love dance music. I love not poppy disco. I'm not a disco guy, but I love fucking techno. I love techno. And so there's a Canadian artist called Richie Houghton, who's one of the most important ever, out of Windsor. People don't even realize how much he changed the game. He lives in Germany now, but he's a legend. That's the kind of shit that I love listening to.
That's dope, man.
I just like all music. Honestly. I like all music mostly because I think it's dope. It's like my mother, when I was a kid, taught me this lesson. She said, "Your world is a mansion, so don't just use 2 rooms. Like, don't don't sit in 2 rooms and be indignant about my room." She's like, "Go see the fucking world." She didn't swear, but she's like, "Go see the world of your ideas and your possibilities and the art that's out there, the music. Like, try it all." You know, and I, it backfired on her because she wanted me to go to heaven. That's not going to happen. You know, yeah, you got. I mean, this is the first. Music is so homogenous now. I went to Coachella this past weekend. It's so homogenous. I'm like, come on, where's the fight? You know, but I know it's out there. It's just not at those festivals.
I got a question. So, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but like, was it hard, like, I guess, stepping away from MuchMusic whenever it is that you did?
You know, it was a little bit weird because I felt like MuchMusic was going to be part of my life for the rest of my life. Like, I really felt like I was going to be, I mean, the place meant so much to me. Luckily, when I went to CBC, I brought a couple of my key producers from MuchMusic over with me. So I felt like home. But it was definitely an adjustment, you know, and the MuchMusic thing is maybe the thing I get remembered for the most, which is kind of funny if you think about it, because MuchMusic's ratings weren't big, but the impact was legit. And I think also because people realize now that we don't have it anymore and how great it really was. So I look back at MuchMusic fondly now. Look, there was definitely a time where it was ready for me to go. I was probably getting a little bit jaded and I didn't like the directions they were going. So I definitely left at the right time, but I feel really, really, happy that I got to be a part of that story, you know, and that story, and I was a big part of that story. And me and Ricky talk about this, Rick the Temp, we talk about it a bunch, that what a run it was, you know? So I miss it a little bit, but I don't miss doing that because I do it now on Apple Music. I still get to play music and talk about it. So I like that. But I do kind of miss Queen and John, you know, that fucking building on that corner where we would do the shows and people would come up. I miss that kind of energy. Definitely miss that because you can never replace it. And MuchMusic Video Awards weekend, the MMVAs, the whole build. I'm gonna show you a picture. I got a picture on my phone here. This is like way back. This is 21 years ago. 21 years ago. It's a crazy photo. The MuchMusic Video Awards. I was hosting that red carpet show. This guy wasn't even big then, by the way. He was big. He was coming, but he wasn't big yet. Let me find it. Well, first of all, here's me and Lenny and Denzel at the MMVAs back in the day. You know.
Oh man!
Holy!
But this picture I want to show you, like, this is the energy of the Much, and you can see it in his face. He's getting out the limo as I'm about to interview him, and okay, there's one. It's not that. I'm close. So I have too many pictures on my phone. But yeah, so the energy of that time at MuchMusic was so hot, so real, and everybody was kind of on the same page that I missed that a lot. I missed that kind of crew. It was, here it is. There's me, and this is 2002, I think. So 22 years ago, me and Ye on the red carpet.
Oh man.
Holy.
Look at that look on his face when he's popping out the car, right?
Yeah.
Because he came out the car and saw the crowd. What is this? He had just earlier that day we were sound checking. There was nobody around. So him and a bunch of cats get on stage. They start to warm up. He comes off stage. He's standing right beside me, and we're sitting there. And he just says, "Check this song out that I wrote. Am I all right?" And so they start in the song, and I was just, and it was the first time I'd heard him do Jesus Walks, right? And they were just sound.
The first time you heard the ooh,
yeah,
bo, bo.
And there was this gospel choir on the stage, all wearing like not in show gear, just wearing regular street clothes, all on stage, starting that Jesus walks. And I look over at Kanye, and he looks at me and he went, "Mm-hmm." I'm like, "This is it. This is it."
That shit was fire. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So I missed that. You know, like on any given day, it was just the fucking best. The fucking best. You know.
No, and honestly, no, that's you know, you've lived quite a life, man, and I think that's.
I'm so lucky. Listen, I don't take a second of it for granted, man. I'm so lucky, nice, because I did. What I hope for everybody is to be around the people that inspire you, to learn from them, and to try to be that for somebody else, right? And I was just so lucky that my passion for music and writing and film was so high that I got to be in the company of Quentin Tarantino and Spike Lee and Patti Smith and Maya Angelou and Oprah and Stephen Colbert, and being around Ye and Chuck D at the time when and being around Prince, being around David Bowie. Like I got to fucking talk about life with David Bowie. I got to talk about basketball with Prince. I got to, I got to be around these people who were Joe Strummer from The Clash, who's maybe the biggest influence on me. These people changed my life, and I honor them. And I never even make this career at all about me. It's about honoring the lessons I was given, crafting them for the times that I'm around, passing them on to a next crew and let them do the same. I really believe you got to use that language, right? It ain't about you. It's about us. And you're going to benefit anyway. You're going to get the fucking benefits anyway, right? So you just don't have to make it about you. You're going to get the shit you want. But I just feel I'm so lucky to be able to just do that, to know that there were times in my life where I would talk to me and KRS-One were walking the streets of Harlem, and he was taking me through the history of Harlem, like when I was 28 years old. What the fuck? The other day I was at a wedding, and it was me, Big Daddy Kane, Grandmaster Melly Mel,
legend.
It was Crazy Legs. It was Lord Finesse. It was some pretty connected guys from the Crips, and we were all talking about our top five. I wasn't even fucking talking. I just sat back and listened to the G's. So I would be like, "What do you think of Hove?" And then one guy would say his thing, another guy would say, "What do you think of LL?" And everybody was going. And that, by the way, all the legends had mad respect for Big Daddy Kane, because Big Daddy Kane is underappreciated.
Oh, of course.
Legend.
Yeah. So I'm so lucky to be in a room where I'm just sitting there at a fucking wedding. My man Russell Peters got married, who I've known since I was a teenager, and
shout out to him, one of the best to come out of that.
Yeah, he's lit. Man.
So, dude, I used to sneak Russell Peters into the movie theater that I worked at, because a girl I was dating when I was 18 knew him before he was a comedian. That's how I met Russell Peters. We've known each other since back in the day, right? And so he got married, and Raekwon's at his wedding, Cedric the Entertainer's at his wedding doing the thing. So we're all just sitting. Ray Parker Jr., who wrote the Ghostbusters theme, who toured with the Stones and Stevie Wonder when he was 17. All these people are at Russell's wedding, because everybody loves Russ. And I'm listening to these guys talk about hip hop, and I'm just like, just keep your mouth shut and just listen. And I don't take for granted a day that I've been able to be a part of some those stories, you know, and hear them talk. Very, very grateful for it. And I try to honor it by putting the effort in. But yeah, every now and then I'll be with somebody and they don't know my career. And then somebody will, like Raekwon will walk up and we'll have a talk and they'll just look at me like, you know, Chef? I'm like, I know Chef. And I'm just very lucky, right? So it's kind of, I forget it. I forget no, I never forget how lucky and privileged I am, but I forget that that somehow this is what my life has become, you know? I'm still out there working every day, never lose the grind. But I'm very grateful for the fact that I got to be around those legends who changed my life.
And that's, you know, sort of how I wanted to, you know, rest this. You know, we're talking about, you know, paying homage and continually paying it forward and, you know, being influenced by great people. And because obviously you've been surrounded by great people and you've been inspired and influenced by great people. But, you know, I think how I really want to close this off is sort of by paying homage to the one who did it for you first, which should be your mother. Because it sounds like to me, she started everything for you, which is the story for all of us who grow up here, you know, immigrants. And, you know, a lot of us grow up without fathers in the picture. And
my dad,
that means a lot to me to know.
My dad left when I was 7 and my sister was 4. So we were in Rexdale, living right behind the Rexdale Mall when he left. And my mom was young. She was a teenager when she got pregnant with me, right? So when how she did it is, and maybe this is why I have this perspective on life, where I put no value on my accomplishments and I put no value on my career. I put no value on any of it because I don't think I could have done what she did. This young woman by herself raised these 2 kids with no money. Like my mom, we'd get up my mom at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd help her put the newspapers together because she would deliver a newspaper. That was her first job of 3 every day. Right. And still have food, still come home. She still had to suffer the indignation of how men treated her in that era. Right. My mom was this hot, young blonde woman that, you know, big curly hair, and the way men treated her, and I would see it. They were fucking disgusting to her. And but she couldn't do anything because she needed the fucking job because she had 2 kids to feed. And I watched what my mother did and what she had to suffer through. And I thought, I will grow up, right? And I will war everybody like those guys. I will fucking war them all because they made the path so hard for her. And the system made the path so hard for her. And somehow, you know, my grandmother, my uncle, my aunt, my mom's family, like a small little family, but what a great family, you know. You know, it's like when you got your family and they're everything to you. So our family together did it. But watching how my mother always did it with love in her heart, and my mother never gave up. And if she ever felt like it was too much, I never saw it. Right? Because there's a great line in a book I read once where somebody said, "Did you ever think about giving up?" And said, "These aren't the times for those luxuries. You know, you don't get to give up." She's like, "I got these 2 kids to feed. I got to keep them out of trouble. I got to keep them healthy. I got to give them a shot." It's fucking hard for her. And there is nothing in my life that I have that isn't in 100% testament to the work that she did. There is nothing I have in my life. I have a lot of love in my heart and a lot of joy in my heart. That's from her. My love of music is a little bit from her, mostly from my uncle, but that's her brother, you know? And
so it still comes from her.
Still comes from her. And so, yeah, I mean, all single parents, because I know single dads have it fucking hard too, and they get no love. Everybody loves to love single moms, but single dads get no love. So single dads have it hard too. But single parents, and in my case, a single mom back in that day, you know, and she taught me, this is the craziest thing. She taught me to have no ill will towards my father. She actually said to me when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, because she'd hear me say some shit about my dad, or she'd hear somebody else say some shit about my dad because he just split, right? And we were broke, no home. We had nowhere to live. Like, he just fucking split. And I was home when he split. And I would watch people say shit about my old man, And my mother would stop them, and she would look at me, and she would actually say this: "You will not grow up with daddy issues. The world is the world. No one promised you a smooth ride. You don't get to operate." She goes, "Sometimes the people who love you don't. And sometimes the people who do love you, but don't know what to do about it and leave. And none of that is your fault, nor is it your responsibility. But you don't get to carry that like a cross," right? My mom was gangster about, hey, fucking deal with it, right? She didn't say it so hardcore, but that's how I heard it. I heard it like the cavalry ain't coming. You know, you're on your own here. You got me. And she would say to me, "You're special to me, but you're not special. You're the same as everybody else, and that's good. You're here for other." Like, she used to put all this shit in my head. So I grew up pretty well adjusted because my mom somehow figured out a way to keep my sister and I this way, you know, to keep us like focused on never internalizing the shit that happened to us. She's like, "It doesn't matter. You got to just get through it. You got to get through it," you know? And she had very little tools. She was fucking 24 when my dad left, 25. Being a single mom at 25 with no fucking work, no place to live, none of that shit, that was hard. And yeah, and then, so every single thing about me is a testament to the work that lady did, you know, everything.
Of course, you know, like you said, we appreciate not just obviously single mothers, but single parents in general who turn these modern miracles and show us how they're done. And they do it with such grace and eloquence that I just sit there in awe.
Oh, no, man, I laugh sometimes when I see my friends on Instagram tweet about their bad day. And they're like, "I just can't." You know, they're like, "I just can't." I know that's not the mental health and self-care, very important. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the people who are like, "I'm overwhelmed." And I go, "You probably are." And then I think, how the fuck did my mother do it? I will never disrespect my mother's commitment by not working hard. I will never disrespect my mother's commitment to me by not fighting. I will fight. I'll fight till they put me in the ground, and then I'll fight in the next life, right? Because I watched what my mother had to go through. I watched what my grandmother had to go through. Single mom, you know, in fucking Canada, didn't speak the language. You know, her husband passed away, my grandfather, and you're like, there's some hard living. There's some hard living for immigrants out here. And this is the 70s, right? It's very fucking crazy in the 70s too. And the neighborhoods were abandoned back then. They're worse now in terms of their abandonment. There were no community programs back then. And you're just like, man, I don't know how anybody got through it. I fucking, that crew of moms and dads and parents and guardians, you know, the grandmothers who had to raise the kids, the grandfathers who had to raise the kids. You know, my friends their dads would go to jail, and then the fucking grandmother or grandfather would step up, and you're like, all right, that whole family shit, man, that's what's inspired the Rex. The thing I want to do is this era of how community kind of raised your kid, but also scared the fuck out of your kid, you know? Mm-hmm. You know?
No, and I'm the same way because I was raised, you know, by my mother. My grandmother had a very big hand in raising me. My 4 older siblings were all quite a bit older than me. Like, they all had a big hand in raising me. So, like, when I hear you talking about this, it relates to me on a level. I get it.
Oh,
you
man.
know,
their impact is everything. Everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But no, like you said, I do it to pay homage to those people who, without them, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, totally.
And I simply couldn't do without, right?
Yeah, no, totally. Totally. And look, you're in those. I mean, now the neighborhood's in your hands, right? The neighborhoods are in your hands.
The neighborhoods are in my hands now.
And you're going to become the voices of that neighborhood, you know. And you have to.
No, and then that's all I want. All we want, AB and I and our partner ATL, all we really want to do is continue, like I said, continually pay it forward and continually keep paying homage. Like, you know what? I say this to my friends as a joke, but I say it to them, hey guys, look what time it is. It's time to pay homage. It's time to pay homage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because it's time to keep moving forward. It's time to keep pushing it forward, right?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of value just on a neuroscience level. There's a lot of value in putting good thoughts into your subconscious that will pay off down the road, you know? Like, so when you pay homage, when you show support, because the one thing that never slumps is service. So when you're not feeling your best, or something's fucking up, or your career's not, or things just aren't rolling, and everything that you're dealing with is real and difficult and all that, it's absolutely. sometimes what I would do when I was, like my mom would say this to me, she would drop me off across the street from the Rexdale Mall was a senior citizens home, right? An old folks home. And my mom would drop me off at that old folks home when things were tough. And she would say, go inside, go find somebody who's alone and be their friend. That's your job as a person. She said, your service is never going to slump. No matter what you're going through in your life, you can always be there for somebody else while you're going through your shit. And you'll find out how quickly you stop focusing on your shit, right? And go be good company for somebody else. So I think that paying homage thing is really important. And again, like it's not about not getting yours. You're going to get yours anyway, right? Life is, we live in a crony capitalist society that's designed for this. So you're going to figure your way out anyway. But if you do it and make it just about you, I think you're missing the point, right? And paying homage because you learned from them. None of these ideas I invented. These are just lessons passed down for me that I've now, I reapply through my filter. Some of the stuff that I say with you today might land with you. Some of it might not. Some people might be listening going, fuck that guy, which is fine. Nothing I'm saying is untrue, but it's not going to land for everybody. And that's okay. It's not supposed to. It's just supposed to be. And then someone takes a kernel of it and that turns into something else. And that's how we kind of move the us forward. That's how we move the us forward. I knew that, Dixon is not the same as when I was there. But then when Rob Ford pulled that bullshit, I thought Dixon's the same. He don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. And, some of my people were like, oh, the Fords, they're from us. They care about us. They're our guy. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Terrorizing. Are you fucking crazy? Fuck that. I'll go to my grave on that, right? I don't give a fuck. And they're manipulating and using just like they always have, and not them specifically, but all of that. And I know there's so many great politicians and so many great community leaders, and we know great police officers. We know great people in our lives, my friends who've become police officers, and they're good men. They're good women, right? We know that, but the system's fucked. And I don't think any of that's ever changed, So that's why your voice is so important. That's why your voice is so important. And in the podcast era, the idea that, if I got to grow up hearing other people from Rex telling stories when I was a kid, or other people from fucking Malton telling stories when I was a kid, I would have changed my life. Never saw that. Never fucking saw that at all. Because they're really interesting neighborhoods. And where you're from too, you're from the Heights, right? Like it's
man.
That shit's, that's real Toronto to me. That's real Toronto to me. That ain't the Toronto I see on TV.
No. They'll never monetize that Toronto,
Yeah,
and
right.
I think it's good. It's got to come from us. So that's why I've taken the time to I could have rushed this story, but really, somebody's got to tell the story before,
Yeah. Are you going to direct it as a short film?
It's too late. That was sort of my plan, but I'm sort of in between because I've been talking to Nice about it for, I'll say probably about a little over 2 years. Obviously the pandemic kind of ruined things, kind of slows everybody down. You fall into that short-term depression and not really having a sense of direction and stuff. But yeah, I'm going to aim for short film, but I'm also going to leave so much of the story untold so that I could sort of do maybe a mini series per se,
I am. So I've been working with a crew on starting a thing called the Neighborhood Film Fund, right? I've been working on a thing where I want people from Rexdale, Malton, Jane and Wilson, people who don't have access to film schools, because fuck film schools, right? For me, raise a little bit of money to make a couple short films, So there are people who actively want to, and it's specific to our neighborhoods. It's cats who are from our part of the city. The ethnicity, all that is, to me, it is relevant to the story, but it is irrelevant to the fund in that it's just those neighborhoods. I never hear Toronto, my Toronto Indians and Pakistanis, I never see them get love or opportunity to tell films, in Toronto. My South Asian friends growing up in Malton too, right? The stories there, you don't really see that reflected in a lot of how we tell these stories. And I want to be, so we're a part of that. So that's what I'm saying. I'm legit when I say, let me even just read what you have now as a story. Let me think. Let me just see where you're at, because maybe there's a fit, maybe there's not a fit. Never a promise, right? Maybe there's not a fit, but to help you tell these stories, I'm interested in helping that.
I appreciate it, man. I'll send you what I got. I just get it, and I'll email it to you. I guess I'll get an email from Nice, or I'll just message you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just message me. Yeah, you got my number.
Yeah,
for sure. I think it's dope, man. I think it's dope.
Appreciate
it.
Hey,
Strombo, man. Look. We got a lot of stuff, but we definitely want to come talk to you about
sorry
it.
Sorry if I rambled too much and took you longer than you thought.
No, man. This is exactly what we wanted.
It was an authentic conversation, man. You gave us the truth, man. You gave us what we needed to hear, what the people need to hear too, right?
And time flew by. That was nice. I appreciate the opportunity.
I had a great time.
Thank you so much.
Who
are you listening to now? What artists do you like that are on the I call them the less than 100. So the people who are like less than 100 listens on SoundCloud back in the day. That's how I would try to find artists who no one's listening to. What are you loving?
Honestly, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say necessarily underground, but a lot of rappers who come out of Toronto who aren't necessarily represented the best. I think we were talking about this earlier too. Like Toronto, we got a lot of artists who don't get any sort of fanfare, any sort of and it's a lot, like you said, through social media too. Like social media plays a role because these guys get reposted on these pages, and they get hits and whatever, but it doesn't lead to anything. You know what I mean?
No, it's exploiting. There's this element of exploiting the violence from social media accounts that, I mean, and people can do whatever they want, right? But I'm like, man, we got to keep people alive. We got to keep people alive. We lost some great fucking artists in the last 5 years, right? We lost some great artists. This is fucked. Right. This is bigger than, it's not the genre. This is a cultural thing, a society, right? And systemically. But yeah, and you're right. The only time they get any love in the media is when it's negative and it's a headline. Right.
Or when they're dead, and when they're people paying homage, right? When they die, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We lost so many great rappers, man.
But like I said, I think we'll definitely talk about it. I hope Strombo. I hope this isn't your last time working with us, because it's definitely a lot of stuff.
For sure,
there's a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about. But we could do it another time.
You let me know. I'm around. Just text me. I'm around. You got my numbers.
So that being said, Strombo, do you have any parting advice for our listeners before we go?
Everything that I've said here today comes through the filter of my experiences and the rooms that I've been in, the streets I've been on, right? So these are not universal truths. They're just things that either worked for me. What's the difference between a rule and a principle? A rule you have to do it, a principle is a thing that works. So this is a thing that has worked for me and an approach that has worked for me. It's not for everybody, because not everybody has the same brain chemistry, the same conditioning, the same opportunity. I understand all that. We're in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. I get that. But what I do know to be universally true is that you do not have to do this alone. And it is so much fucking better when you win with your friends. It is so much better. And when everybody's out there trying to make a name for themselves, it is so much sweeter when you make a name for you and your crew, right? That thing, you'll never get that back, especially at the age you guys are at. Like this thing we're in now, it's being there for others will still give you all the shit you want, but you'll do it the right way. And I believe that in my heart. I believe that in media. I believe that in sports. I believe that in every aspect of life, right? Is like, yeah, you're going to win. That's cool. It's important for you to get your shit. I get it, right? But don't do it at the expense of everyone else. Being on the right side is actually a good thing. That's the win. And so I really, really believe that. I really, really believe that. Big up your fucking neighborhood and big up your people.
For sure, man.
No, honestly, man, that's Facts. That's all I gotta say. Facts.
I'm sad that I didn't get to see your other partner, and you had one other person who's part of the crew. 4 of you.
Yeah, one more guy. It's 3 of us. So our friend ATL, he's the third guy. Yeah. But he was very upset to not be able to come today. But definitely,
is he okay? Is he okay?
Yeah. He's all right. He's all right. He had some stuff to do today, but definitely, don't worry. I'll let it. He's gonna watch this when we said it to him. He's gonna be pissed off the whole time, but I can't wait.
Well, give him my love, man. I hope he's all right.
Appreciate
he will be. So, AB, do me a favor. Close us out, then, AB.
Once again,
tell everybody where we're at.
Once again, we're here on Switching Gears. My name's AB. Always about billions. We got my man Nice, always the neighborhood Nice from the place.
Always,
we got
always
my homie George Stroumboulopoulos from the place as well. We got 2 guys in the place.
Know what your plan to get billions? What's your plan to get billions?
It's a work in
Nobody's
progress.
Ever asked him that.
Nobody ever asked for that.
Yo, fuck, I believe in you, but if you're gonna always be about them, I want to know how you're gonna do it. Because I believe in you, man. Just if you're gonna be one though, if you're gonna be a B, be a good one.
Yeah. Oh, of course, man. So my thing is I want to do it by telling our story, the story that we all share, that we all resonate with and keeps us attached to one another. So that's the plan, man.
Why don't we do for our neighborhood what Tyler Perry did for Atlanta?
We can do that, man.
Right? So
I'm telling you.
What? We're going to talk about this because this is a whole separate. We're going to talk about this. Listen, guys, go check us out on Instagram, on Twitter at Switching Gears Pod. Go check us out on TikTok. We're at Switching Gears Pod as well. You want to talk to us? Email us at switchingofgears@gmail.com. We are everywhere you need us to be. We are worldwide. We're on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you need to be. If we were any more underground, they would call us Tubman. Listen, go check us out. We appreciate OG Strombo for helping us out. Always billions with me. Neighborhood Nice. We will see you guys next week.